How's it going all? This is rewardadrawer and I am joined by TallMatt. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. We're having a pretty vibing day.
Hell yeah, we are on this wonderful day of December 22nd and totally not last Wednesday or anything.
Yeah, what
Haha.
do you do? Yeah, of
Yeah.
course.
Yeah, I'm totally not out of town in Schitt's Creek, Ontario with internet so unstable that I can't do this live.
And I totally didn't just like change my clothes with a snap of a finger.
True.
God, I'm committing
Though
myself to
though
snapping
that
my finger for this interview now.
though that would be pretty cool if you could do that.
If I could do that, I'd make it like a bit redemption thing. Like I'd totally charge
Yes.
people to like instant clothes change. If I could do the like what's it called? Like Bruce Almighty where he just like throws his hands down and all his clothes just come off, except also there were other
Yes.
clothes underneath those clothes. Like
Oh
I
my god, yeah.
that'd be the trick I'd
That would
bring
be
out
great.
everywhere.
Wait, didn't you tell me at some point in the past that you have done theater?
Yes, so I am
It would
used to.
be really cool in that scenario, I think.
Oh god, yeah, just get rid of all the quick changes. Just like that.
Yeah, like
It was
just
such a mess.
snap of the fingers, and instead of half the population dying, your clothes change.
I dig it.
Yeah.
So, Matt, tell us a little about yourself and your music.
So, hi, I am TallMatt staring directly at my webcam because force of habit, I guess. While I do stream on Twitch, and that is something that brings me a lot of joy, my entry into I guess stage presence, if you will, was in music. I have been in a number of bands over the years, most I'd say all of them in some blanket genre of rock, more metal than, but the first band I was in was more of a punk rock kind of thing. So that's sort of where I started my musical career, if you will. The bands I'm in nowadays are exclusively within the reign of metal, albeit in wildly different subgenres. Like one band is synthwave metal, and the other is more progressive gent kind of stuff, which is completely different worlds. But the consistent factor is that I play drums in them because I don't know how to write or play guitar for shit.
Honestly, same. So, why don't you tell us the names of these groups so people who might be interested in your music might find it?
Sure. The first band is called Alpha Boötis. Web captioner did not get that right. The first word is spelled alpha, the second one is Bootis.
And the second note has an umlaut.
It does. So it's like the colon O face, but rotated 90 degrees and also a letter.
Yes.
Um and the second band has a name and like 3 songs written, and literally that's it. So that is to be announced at some point in the future, but I promise you it is very much in the vein of prog and gent and all that sort of stuff. I do have a solo career in harsh noise, and literally the only person I know who's listened to that is Random Days. So
Nice.
that I don't know if that necessarily counts as music, but it's certainly shit posty.
Hey, that's fine. It's creative expression.
Yeah. Of throwing samples into Audacity and just fucking with the effects. That's literally how I write it.
Vibe with it. Um,
Yeah.
when and how did you first get into music?
Ooh, that goes a while back. I have a vivid memory of preschool. I must have been like 5 tops. Um, I forget what the catalyst was, but I vividly remember looking at my preschool teacher and saying, I want to be a rock star. Now that I think about it, it was probably just listening to Backstreet Boys all the time. And assuming that that was what being a rock star was. Which, let's be honest, it's not.
No, it's more glamorous than that.
Yeah. But I know it was around that time that I decided that music was what I was going to set my sights on for the rest of my life.
Hell yeah, dude. It's like the skateboarder astronaut president that I thought I'd be, except you're actually doing it.
Well, sort of, I guess. I mean, like, I'm not getting paid a lot of money like I thought I would be. Hell, most of the time I don't even get paid, but it is what it is.
God, I hear that. So who inspired you to become a musician?
Again, NSYNC, Backstreet Boys, fucking Britney Spears, all that sort of. If I had to go as far back as I can remember, it would be that. There have been a lot of, this person has inspired me to pick up the drums, or this person has inspired me to keep going when I'm in a rough spot, or, this or that, or that, etc., etc. But at the end of the day, that's where it came from. Was just late 90s pop music. Which I'm honestly not ashamed of. I still bop to that shit on a regular basis.
Hell yeah. Like, who doesn't get, like, a group of people together to sing I Want It That Way at a karaoke bar?
Exactly.
Like, be honest with yourselves, folks.
Be more honest with yourselves than web captioners being with my microphone. That's, at the end of the day, that's what that's
all we're asking.
I'm pretty sure I have a stutter, but the point is, I forgot what the point is, but I'm pretty sure you said it already, so that's fine.
Yeah, well,
yeah.
You're not gonna see my captions until after the fact, but this is a mutual shit show here.
Yeah, well, I mean, I have them on I have 3 monitors, so I'm looking at 3 months. Apparently, I have 3 months
after
on my desk.
Swim.
After Swim, yes.
What does music mean to you today?
I read these questions before this interview, and that one is still very much a roadblock of holy shit, I need to think of the answer to that. I wouldn't go so far as to say, like, oh, music defines who I am as a person, because, like, there's streaming now, there's just the general path I've taken over the last couple years since my autism diagnosis to become more independent and move on with my life and not live in a basement, that sort of shit. But music definitely has a huge impact on the person I've become over the years. And in that sense, music historically has been a driving force, and today continues to be a driving force in my life. Yes, it's something that, if I'm pissed off, I'm going to turn on Iowa by Slipknot, or if I just want to sing along to something, I'll probably, I don't know. Lately, I've been on a huge Paramore kick, so there's that. But at the end of the day, it means a lot to me and to who I am and who I've become over the years.
All right. I mean, yeah, I know music is formative for a lot of us. It's a common cultural experience, but it's also something that's
really
deeply
is
personal to us. So
yeah, it's a how do I phrase it? It's an innately, inherently, intensely, subjectively common experience.
right.
there have been times in my life where I could go as far as to say like, oh, music saved my life, blah blah blah, because I've used it as a coping mechanism at times. But it's more shaped my life than saved it, if that makes any sense.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of going along that same bent, what one song, either of your own that you've written or that you've participated with, or somebody else's, is most important or most meaningful to you?
Hmm. I have this weird thing where whenever someone says, "Oh, what X one fucking specific, very specific song, album, band, etc., um, is your favorite," or very objectively what's at the top of the list, I'm never able to give a concrete answer, just because I'm not in the same headspace now than I was a year ago, and I wasn't in the same headspace then than I was the year before that, so it always changes for me.
That's fair.
Um, but I can think of one time in particular, um, going back to last year, where like in late 2019, my dog passed away, and that was extremely traumatic to go through and deal with. Um, Considering that he had like he'd been dealing with cancer for about 7 or 8 months, and there was a point at which it just completely snowballed. And the day we were supposed to bring him into the vet to have him put down, he died in my arms in the waiting room. And that, oof, yeah, that was traumatic to deal with. And I have a tendency when I'm in very low mental spaces to find songs that either I'm already listening to, that I've been listening to on repeat, or um, match sort of the mood or sentiment that I'm in. And two of those songs in particular that stuck out then and that a year later stick out now inherently as something that was important to me. Uh the first one, I don't know, I was just already listening to it at the time, was Taste of Regret by Of Mice and Men. It was just a very heavy, screamy kind of just get my fucking anger and negative energy out of my body listening to it kind of song. And the other one was Another Life by Motionless in White, which to this day I still cannot listen to without either a tear in my eye or just full on bawling, because some of the last chorus of the song ends with the words, "I hope that we meet in another life. I don't hate that I need you." And after losing someone who genuinely got me through some of the most, I guess, suicidal points in my life, that dug deep and still continues to this day. So while I can't say, X song has always been most important or X song is most important to me right now, those two will always have a sense of importance mentally and emotionally because of the circumstances in which I found them. You know what I mean?
Of course. Thank you for sharing this. Very.
So if I had to answer the question sort of, it would be those two songs, but if I had to pick one, it would be Another Life by Motionless in White.
Understood. Thank you for sharing. By the way, I hope if you need to take a moment, you can take
No,
a
no,
moment.
of course. I have had, you know how you know how I use humor as a coping mechanism
Yeah,
about Max. So it's not hard for me to talk about anymore. It's just the phrasing, the usual, oh, let's take 10 extra seconds to figure out what the fuck I want to say before it actually comes out of my mouth.
understandable.
Understandable. Have a nice day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, well, if it weren't for music, the impact that music has had in your life, what do you think you'd be doing right now?
Uh, I don't know, probably jerking off. Like music has. If I'm being honest, I have no fucking idea.
Ah!
Um, there was a period of time. I don't know exactly when, but at some point within the last like 2 years, where I almost completely gave up on music. And if that were the case right now, I'd probably just be streaming or depressed or both. Let's be honest.
Let's be
But
honest.
it's, ever since I was a kid, my goal in life was always to play music. And now that I'm at the point where, like, okay, I don't have the mental or physical fortitude to make a living solely off of literally anything related to music, I, there are other things I have to do with my life, but I don't know where my life would be if music or the concept of playing music as part of my life, if not a living wage, uh, would be there. Like, it's just always been there. It's always been a part of my life goals. So if I wanted to figure that out, I'd have to literally go back 20 years and just completely discredit that idea in order to fully be able to answer the question.
That makes a lot of sense. It's kind of like second nature at this point in your life. It's been part of you for so long that it's really hard to decouple it from your lived experiences.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I want to get into like a little bit more of the like practical or logistical questions. You know, the side of recording and everything like that.
Yeah, of course.
As chat may or may not be aware, Alpha Boötis is has just released a new EP. So you've
Yes,
been
we have.
y'all been doing recordings and such for that over the last couple months. How
Yeah.
has access to studio equipment or lack thereof affected your music production?
Well, I see two sides to this coin. Which, by the way, if anyone in chat has any coins lying around in your basement, hit me up. I'll give you my address so you can send them to me. I love coins.
There's two
But
purposes to this. There's two purposes to this, by the way. One, Matt is an avid coin collector, and two, streamers are dirt poor.
yeah, which is ironic because I collect coins.
Yes.
The irony is not lost on me, as opposed to the game, which is. But going back to whatever the fuck I was going to say 30 seconds ago, uh, I can answer that question twofold in the sense that I don't experiment with writing my own stuff as much as I would if I had maybe a bit more equipment, maybe like a guitar, an actual sort of working bass, instruments and garage band, all that stuff. I have Reaper now, but for like a long time there was no sort of DAW that I could use outside of Audacity, which is why I started experimenting with noise, just so I could put something out there and say that I made it. Um, but as far as Alpha, pretend I can say my own band name. as far as Alpha Boötis goes, um, there's the side where we've never really had the ability to record drums. So in that sense, like the first EP was written before any live member had joined the band, and the first album, all the drums were like electronic and programmed.
Night in the
In
Woods style.
that, yeah, um, in that sense, that didn't really affect us too badly. But with parts of this EP and the next few releases we're doing, we had to look for ways to get like an authentic drum sound on there, because that's very much the direction we're headed these days, as opposed to electronic for the most part. And there have been a few times, like last week or 2018 when we recorded the Every Breath cover, where we've been able to find studio time, but for the most part we're not able to do that whenever we want to record drums for a song, or if the song changes a little bit and we need to redo the drums, yada yada, all that shit. So nowadays we program the drums using Get Good, which is a software that works with almost any digital audio workstation or DAW, like Pro Tools, Ableton, Reaper, that sort of thing. So that's a mostly effective way to circumvent our lack of ability to mic up a drum set in a well soundproofed area, because none of the people in the band have that option. But as far as literally everything else goes, whether it be guitar, bass, keyboards, vocals, saxophone, even saxophone, our sax player records on his own time and then just sends the parts over. But Etienne, also known as Ozymandias, who is basically the head of the band at this point, has enough studio equipment at his place to be able to effortlessly, program any keyboard parts, record the guitar, record bass, vocals, all that stuff, so that we can mash it all together, boil them, mash them, stick them in a stew, and release music. Otherwise, we would, if it weren't for the advent of home studio equipment over the last, 10, 15 years, we would have had to take out studio time whenever we wanted to do anything, and that would not be in the budget. So if I had to answer how has access to studio equipment or lack thereof affected your music production, it's affected it positively, because we're able to put stuff to tape, and whatever we can't put to tape, we work around.
Okay, so you've kind of come up with solutions in response to a lack of access.
Basically, yeah.
Okay. Well, one of the reasons I'm bringing up some of these technical questions is because, of course, Notes for Notes is an organization that provides professional grade equipment, instruments, and even mentorship to children who just don't have those things, don't have access to musical equipment and stuff, through like the Boys and Girls Club and other organizations and stuff like that. Which brings us to like mentorship. What's one thing that you've learned through the process of recording music in your own way, that you wish someone had taught you, that you kind of like had to learn the hard way?
I guess not everyone with a home studio is a professional. Not every producer works the same way. you have to sort of weed through some of the less savory recording engineers to truly find someone you're able to get the ball rolling with. And also, if you're recording an instrument, you're gonna fuck up your takes a lot. Practice more so that happens less.
Yeah, and of course, perfect practice makes perfect.
Perfect practice does in fact make perfect. That is a tongue twister. I cannot speak English.
It's all good.
Also, uh, whenever you get to the studio with your entire kit, expect to have issues, because that happens more often than you would think. Whether it's, setting up the drum set itself, or just the amount of time it takes to mic up each drum perfectly.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Or just like you get to the space and just like randomly you're stuck in a feedback hole forever, like no matter how you position your equipment.
Yeah, or like last week, 2 weeks ago, where we spent half an hour troubleshooting why my kick drum sounded like shit, until we came to the consensus that it needed blankets inside of it.
Yeah, some dampeners.
And we spent like almost half an hour testing different mics and different positions. And then someone was like, haha, what if you put stuff in it? And that just worked.
Yeah, you just needed some sound dampening.
Yeah. Shit like that happens much more often than you would think. Setup
Oh yeah.
Setup and sound check isn't as streamlined as it is when you play live. When you're in studio, you really need to nail it. Whereas if you're live, you just need to mix each drum and overheads and make sure it sounds good enough for a performance. Because
Valid.
it's that's just the way it is. After having played shows on and off for the last 6 years, when you're in the studio, you need to get it right, and that takes time. Also,
Right.
tune your drums.
Okay.
Tune your instruments. Make sure you're in tune. This is just general advice that I'm throwing out here, not necessarily specifics. Tune your equipment. Make sure it's in good condition. If you're a string player, buy new strings. If you're a drummer, buy new heads. Make sure everything's in tune within not only itself, but with any other instruments that may be playing, especially if you're recording as a band, like with multiple people at the same time, as opposed to multi-tracking. And also, the harsh noise is incredibly easy to get into. Just take samples and fuck them up in Audacity.
Hell yeah. So, musicianship isn't just about, knowing how to use your own instrument. You have to work with other people. And
Yeah.
that includes both, as mentors and as peers. Who's someone you wish that you could collaborate with?
Yes. Not the band, just yes as an answer.
Just everyone.
Everyone. I would be down to collaborate with basically just about anyone who's worth their salt and isn't a piece of shit. Like whether it's with a band, well, if it's with a band, then it's at the discretion of everyone involved. But if it were up to me, there are a ton of people I would love to collaborate with in some way, shape, or form. And as a matter of fact, there is a noise collaboration album that I'm a part of that is, assuming this is in fact Check's calendar, Tuesday the 22nd of December 2020, and not last week, just dropped.
Nice.
With like 20 different noise artists, for some of whom I know, some of whom I don't. Two of whom were my inspirations to get into noise in the first place. And it's, at least in spirit, entirely themed around Final Fantasy.
Nice.
So, like, I like, that's one thing I didn't know I needed to check off the bucket list, was be on a noise split about fucking Final Fantasy. But that was really cool. It was a really refreshing experience to be able to work with other people, and I would absolutely love to have that opportunity again to either just submit something as part of a greater release, or actually be able to sit down with other musicians and bounce ideas off. Like, that's always a lot of fun. It's always cool to experiment with sound and occasionally step outside your comfort zone in the process.
Drew, I'm gonna blow your mind a little bit. You're kind of doing that right now.
Spoken word is a genre of music. I will die on this hill.
Hell yeah. All right, so I'm going to let you go after this, but just as a parting shot, what would you like to tell musicians who might hear this, who are just starting out today, who are sort of exploring their sense of musicianship just now?
Do it. Like, 100% just fucking go ahead, do it. If you have any doubts in your mind, they are false. Do it. Don't listen to what other people say, especially not if you're in the 9th grade and that one kid who's really a dick about classic rock says you can't play guitar. Don't listen to him. He's a piece of shit. Yes, I'm still salty about that. Just fucking go ahead and give it your best shot.
Yeah, or if your family members tell you
and if that doesn't work, at least you can say you tried.
Exactly. And if your family members tell you you sound like a dying cat when you sing, well, maybe they're wrong. You never know.
Maybe they're wrong. Maybe
you'll be a lead tenor someday.
Exactly.
Mom. Actually, Mom never did that. Dad.
Oh no. But yeah, basically just go for it. It's, yes, there are a lot of people who just start, like, I don't know, pick up a guitar, try it for a few months, and then decide it's not for them. But at least they went through the effort of trying at first. And that's something that I think everyone should do. Maybe not specifically guitar, because that's fucking a dime a dozen. Maybe pick up, like, bass or, I don't know, hurdy-gurdy or some shit. But, like,
Become the world's first prog metal vuvuzelist.
Exactly. You never know what you are able to accomplish in anything, but especially musically, if you don't set out to do it in the first place.
Very well spoken, Matt.
Thanks. I came up with it myself.
Nice. All right. Any socials or anything like that you want to plug on your way out?
Well, there's the obvious twitch.tv/TallMatt. But since this is sort of a musical conversation we're having, whatever harsh noise I do decide to pull out of my ass any given month of the year can be found at bandcamp.com/TallMatt. There is also, and much more importantly, alphaboötisband.com, which, if you're watching with web captioner, is ALPHABOOTISMUSIC.com. I may need to double check that.
We'll make sure that we get the right links out for you.
Yes, it is that. That is the correct link.
Okay, good.
ALPHABOOTISMUSIC.com, where you can find anything and everything relating to our band, including our Facebook page, our merch shop, Bandcamp, Spotify, all that fun shit. If you're into synthwave and you're into metal, then you'll definitely be into this because it's literally that. It's I forget what Etienne said about our band, but it was something that was really great, and I'm pissed that I can't remember it. It's if you took like Iron Maiden, but produced by Daft Punk and the lyrics written by Isaac Asimov. That's literally Alpha Boötis in a nutshell. So it's very out there, it's very unique, and it's, in my opinion, very good.
Good. Nice.
And everything you need to know about that is at that link up there that I imagine you're gonna add in post, because this is totally live.
This is definitely live, and we're going to include it in the YouTube links after the fact, because this is definitely not pre-recorded. This is happening on December 22nd, 2020 at approximately 6:30 p.m. my time.
Which is approximately
late.
Insert time here. O'clock Eastern.
Yes. All right, thank you very much, TallMatt. Two last things I want to say about TallMatt. TallMatt is Matt, and TallMatt is tall.
And also, I'm autistic and vape into a harmonica in my spare time. So there's that.
They do absolutely do that. Thank you very much. This has been TallMatt with me. I am rewardadrawer. Back to you, Rad.